Welcome back to Tour with Shailesh for yet another episode on Indian healing and wellness and Indian traditions. I'm in conversation with Guruji Yogi Shivan on various aspects. And today we're going to talk about rituals. Welcome back, Guruji.
Namaste.
Could you tell us why do we have rituals?
Namaste. Rituals are made for keeping a particular idea of extra physical domain of existence, which we call pranic level, alive in the society and make it useful for the many generations. If a scientific fact is given as directly as possible, usually the social mentality is not very serious about that. But if it is connected with a particular ritualistic way, people will just follow in the name of belief and fear. That is why rituals are created for the betterment of society.
How did it evolve?
Masters experienced the truth or the secret of nature in their superconscious level, and they wanted to convey that message to the society for the betterment of many generations. For that, they symbolized that idea or materialized that idea and presented to people to make an attraction or to create a sentimental attachment with that symbol. They made certain ritualistic movements and practices. This is how these rituals evolved. But anybody who is keen to know the fact, the secret behind the ritual, it will immediately be revealed to that person. For that, we need a proper attention or sincere concentration.
What is the basis of these rituals? Is it faith or superstition or science?
The fact behind or the origin of rituals is purely scientific. Like, just for example, we have not seen the outer space or a galaxy. Who has seen the galaxy? Except a few astronauts. But they saw it, or a scientist saw through the Hubble telescope, and they picturized it. And we all are seeing the picture of the galaxy. Same way, masters, the spiritual scientists, they experienced certain facts in their superconscious mind, and they visualized it or materialized or symbolized it and present to us. So it's a pure science. One is revealed through equipment, other one is revealed through superconscious attention. That is the only difference. But rituals are highly scientific and useful for everybody if we take it in a serious way.
Can you give some examples which exemplifies the science behind it?
See, one ritualistic practice is that we are advised to have little water before we take food. Especially among Brahmins, you can see they keep the food in front of them and take little water on their hand and make 2-3 circles and drink the water. Then only, of course, along with that, they will recite some mantras. Then only they will eat food. Actually, why that ritual is insisted? This is not satisfying or making any god happy. This is only for our own protection. Many people died on choking. It may get stuck in the throat and die. To avoid this dangerous situation, we are advised to do a ritual. So what is the science behind it? The moment we see water, mind and body will be prepared to accept food in our food pipe. Food pipe will be properly expanded and the epiglottis will be properly opened for receiving the food. Otherwise, it may go to the windpipe. This is the dangerous situation. To avoid that cause of death, we are asked to take some water and do some ritual. If this is taught to us only as a scientific fact, who will follow? We will ignore that instruction. Once it is connected with the God and the ritual, we are practicing as a ritual or a prayer to our masters or gods. This is the only science and technique behind this. Another example is occult practice. In ancient India, many diseases were treated through occult practices. It was known as Mandravada. Nowadays, people are thinking that Mandravada is a funny action to fool others. But if you go to the essence, you can come to know it is quantum healing. How it is? First, they will make a column, a huge picture. That picture will be depending on the symptom of the disease. A person who is having a disease will be monitored carefully, and they will come to know, our masters, Mandravadis, the traditional doctors, will come to know the essence or the cause of disease. Based on that, they make a picture. Different colors can create different neurons in our brain. Like when we see a lotus flower, we feel something. Colors and the difference in visions can make a lot of neuronal changes in our brain. So this is what is called color therapy. So the column, the picture which is made for treating a person through occult practice is color therapy. Along with that, they will give something to smell, that is aromatherapy. That also will differ according to the disease. Then a particular mantra or a music will be used for the sound, that is sound therapy. A particular bunch of flowers or herbs will be used to touch in a rhythmic way on the body of the patient, that is touch therapy. And something will be given to taste, that is taste therapy. See the technique of making the five senses together, bringing together and make a harmony. When the particular harmony is made, this person's consciousness will be slipping into sixth sense. That is what is called Mandravada. Mandra means Mananat Trayate iti mantra. By fixing these five senses, anybody can take the consciousness to a different plane of consciousness. That is what is called Samadhi, altered state of consciousness. Once it is created artificially, that particular moment when the consciousness slip into the higher level, the master will say, you are healed, you are escaped from the problem. If it is taken into the depth of the mind, then it will reflect in the muscle. This is actually what is called quantum healing. Mind is infectious. A strong mind can influence a weak mind. This is the way occult practices were used in India for healing many serious diseases. The next one is the rituals practiced after a person's death. It is called Shesha Kriya. Shesha means after. So after the death, we are advised to do some rituals. Actually, we know very well that energy can neither be created nor be destroyed. Nasado vidyade bhavo na bhavo vidyade shadara. The statements are having difference only in language. In essence, both are same. When a person dies, his consciousness, his memory will remain. According to yogic science, there are 5 planes of existence: Annamayam, Pranamayam, Manomayam, Vijnanamayam, Anandamayam. Means what we have this body and this existence is Annamayam. It is tangible. The second one is Pranamayam, energy level. Third memory or existence is Manomayam, mental level. And the fourth one is Vijnanamayam, intellectual existence. And the fifth one is Anandamayam, spiritual existence. In our intellectual level, we are not capable of understanding the journey of the soul. So what we can do is, when we do the rituals, we are informed or we are reminding ourselves that the same thing is going to happen for us also. There, that key comes. we will be mentally prepared to face the transformation, I mean the death. This is why these kind of rituals are taught to us to prepare for ourselves for the future.
So coming back, Guruji, you have already given an example. I would still like to ask you this again. How does rituals help in healing?
As I told you earlier, rituals are explaining the incomprehensible realities of our existence. When we go through the ritual, the invisible, the hidden effects will be influencing us. Like when we visit a temple, I'm not talking about this newly made temples, the traditionally infused, energy infused temples. When we go to the temples and come near the Vigraha, the idol, we feel something which is beyond explanation. But that energy which was infused through proper prana pradishta by a well established sage, that energy will be affecting in us. Like when we go to a market, in the morning time business is there, but evening no business. So evening time when we go there, go the place where they sell the flowers, we feel some kind of energy over there, even though that place is empty. Same way, you go to the butchery area, you will feel the pain there. Why? Because the invisible vibration of pain and pleasure is there. So, invisible vibrations are installed in each and every ritual. So, when we go through a ritual which will be intended for healing, definitely we will get that potential and possibility of healing through that ritual.
So, in simple language, what you're saying is that spiritual leaders found a method to impart healing through practices in a simple way, and that is what rituals are.
Yes, exactly. People who experienced the hidden truth or hidden methods of the universal existence along with our bodily existence. They experienced through their superconscious mind or in their intuitive level. Then that ideology or experience brought into intellectual frame through molecular arrangements. This is what is called rituals.
How does rituals connect people, history to modernity?
History and modernity are not different. Both are like both sides of the same coin, like day and night. So modernity is developed from antiquity. We should learn from our past, make use of that knowledge for our present life, then prepare for tomorrow. This is the reality of our existence, and that is why we are born. Historical thing or the messages from the past will connect us to the present, and it will lead to our future. The technology, since the technology is applicable for everybody, or hidden threads of this ritualistic practices will make people connected. It's like a huge family. What is the connection between brothers and sisters? That is the connection with our parents. Same way, the ritualistic essence is the parents from which we all are created. In that sense, rituals will tie us together. All these rituals are taught to us for our safety and intellectual developments by our masters.
So what you're saying basically is that regardless of the advancement that humankind has made, rituals are here to stay.
Definitely, without rituals, man cannot advance. It may be labeled as modern scientific analysis and all these things, but the essence will be same. People who lived here 1,000 years ago had gone through certain rituals, but they might have called in a different way. Same way, after 1,000 years also, generations will come, they will practice some kind of rituals, but they may label that ritual in a different name. But whatever may be the name and time, rituals will remain in our life.
Thank you so much, Guruji. Yet another insightful conversation on rituals. I'm sure a lot of clarity would have come in to many of the viewers who are now regulars with us. And for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, this is a series we are running on Indian healing and wellness and Indian traditions. And this is the seventh in the series. And if you have missed out the earlier ones, please look down and you will find the link to all the previous episodes. There are a few more interesting topics lined up in the coming days. So don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And of course, not to forget hitting the notification button to stay updated on the latest videos. This is Shailesh signing off. Until the next one.